Hopefully the animals will not make too much noise and I can be heard. But this video is to help people that are struggling with autism, their children's autism, help them improve their quality of life and potentially put them in remission. My name is Einar Jordan. Again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nutritionist. I've been a biotech engineer. I wrote a book called Good Shit, where I explain and review all the research literature on nutrition, on fecal transplants, and I also document the health improvements that I had with over 20 autoimmune disorders. So I'll try to summarize as best as I can. I had recently a follower that was their child started improving very quickly after he put him in a carnivore diet. And I always urge people not to just believe anything I say. There is a lot of people trying to sell you a lot of crap and one-time miracles, and very rarely this is going to work. The immune system is very complicated, which I'll go into that in a second. So the first thing he did was he put his child in a carnivore diet, and it started improving. He used also topical ivermectin, animal ivermectin, and which is odd. I have to look to literature that supports his findings, but he said that the child also started improving. He was rubbing the ivermectin in his tummy. So let's first go to FMTs. So FMT can be very dangerous, as I explained in my book, especially for people with a very severe autoimmune disorder and severe dysbiosis. There is no way out easily out of this disease, out of these conditions. There are ways to make it less reactive. So when you do an FMT or any treatment, you have to consider that there is a lot of parasitic infections, parasites, yeasts, and these organisms are going to die in whatever procedure you're doing that's going to work. It's going to cause a condition called die-off, Herx effect, where they die and they release a lot of toxins, and all hell is going to break loose because their colon is also damaged. So a lot of things are going to go everywhere. That is going to make the child uncomfortable. And it could be very, very serious. And in some cases, it could be lethal. So when you do an FMT, you always got to use a very, very low dose. When I say a low dose, I'm talking like a gram of fecal matter, maybe half a gram, to do the first dose with that, and then increase it. And not to do it orally, to do it, sadly, you got to do it through enema, because it could get released early. You got to do a lot of fasting, so it also reduces the bacterial load and the yeast load in the gut. The other reason that I normally talk a lot about the carnivore diet, and I don't do it all the time myself, is because this is the only thing that will rebuild the colon quickly and strongly. Human beings were carnivore for 2.5 million years. We're not allergic to 99% of animals. We are allergic to 99% of vegetables. Fruits should be out, vegetables should be out, because they interfere with the absorption of minerals, nutrients that are going to rebuild the colon. You need a lot of collagen to rebuild the colon. This is not popular opinion. Don't take my word for it. There is several groups of autistic carnivores, including autistic children carnivores. It doesn't have a lot of people, because most fathers and mothers don't want to see their kids suffer, and their kids are highly addicted to sugar. It's not them, it's the gut bacteria that they have predominantly wants sugar. So it is uncomfortable until that bacteria load drops. So this is why I normally recommend fasting. I recommend carnivore diet. But other things that people have talked to me, it is ivermectin, fenbendazole. They seem to be, and artemisiano, they seem to be quite effective for a number of as modulators for the gut microbiome. So they'll cut down on the load of different parasitic infections that may have a rise. There is a difference between a parasitic infection and a parasite. You know, a parasitic infection is a bacteria or a yeast that normally is in your gut, but went rogue. And now it tries to kill everything else. There are certain organisms that also have been reduced significantly because it appears that the biggest cause of dysbiosis on these children is Tylenol. It's about an 80% correlation, and by vaccines, I think the new studies show like a 500% correlation, which is significant. They kill a lot of good bacteria, especially the bifidus bacteria species that are the most necessary for the gut. So a lot of times I use, this was a recommendation from Natasha Campbell McBride, the creator of the GAPS diet, Dr. Natasha, and he's used low histamine probiotics. So low histamine probiotics has a number of bifidus, a number of lactobacillus, and Saccharomyces boulardii. Saccharomyces boulardii is the same family as Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is what we use to make beer, but it likes the human temperature much better than beer, than cerevisiae, which is the beer making one. And it does not stay. It only lasts for a day or a little while. It just grows, dies off. It manages the microbiome just like artemisiano and a lot of other compounds, and it brings a balance. It also attracts, same with Lactobacillus rhamnosus and Lactobacillus planetarium. They attract. Now, finding a lot of bifidum bacteria is hard because a lot of the companies that make it, they just don't seem to survive as well the freeze drying process. It's probably best to get your hands in raw milk. Is probably not going to be a good thing for children, but raw goat milk might be a better choice. Hard to find. I drink a lot of raw goat milk. Haven't been sick a day. We got about 16 goats here. We're in Central Florida. I take that low histamine probiotic and I put it in milk with a few other bacteria, and I make kefir at home. And that's what I give my children. I mix it. They don't like it without sugar because the mother gives them a lot of sugar. So I make it a very, like about 4% sugar, which is very, very low. And that seems to have worked well for them. My oldest son was a donor of FMT while he was a carnivore, but I do not, I wouldn't do this for anybody. With a donor that's not a carnivore, and I don't have full control. My wife may become a donor later on once again, and my daughter, when she grows up, she may become a donor, but we shall see. So let's see, what else? Beehive therapy could be a good thing. Going on the ocean could be a good thing. And beehive therapy is basically breathing the air of beehives. We have multiple beehives here in our farm, Jordan Family Farm. You know, people that work beehives have have the longest lifespan of any other career. It is interesting. We work the beehives about once a month or so. We only have about 3. We don't eat a lot of sugar, but we do eat some. A lot of people think that they might have to do this carnivore thing for life. No, for most people, you might be able to eat some carbohydrates. However, you have to exercise something that nobody likes: discipline. Carbohydrates are highly addictive, and you know they will increase the yeast and mold. A lot of people complain their children have mold in them and yeast. There has been a lot of antifungal treatments that have been very effective. There has been at least one study that I can remember out of the top of my head where and a few people privately had told me that their doctors giving them their children antifungals, and it's helped them significantly. But this is a condition it requires the managing of your microbiome for the rest of your life, because the moment that you stop managing, you will reverse, you will go back. If I stop, I will go back to all my conditions. So I will not eat junk food or any food that's not made at home ever. Very rarely, I might have some fries yesterday. So this goes back to the gut. I promise that I will talk about this. So 80% of your immune system is your gut bacteria. If you don't have the right gut bacteria in the right proportion and you're not able to manage it properly through diet, there is no other way around it, diet and a lot of probiotics, you will go back. Your immune system will start falling. 80% of it is that. So depending on your gut bacteria is the gatekeeper to your genetics. So no, if you're born with schizophrenia, you're not bound to be schizophrenic. Any more than if you're born obese, you're bound forever to be obese. That can be regulated through the gut microbiome. Your genetics are triggered by the gut bacteria and the food you give to this gut bacteria. This is NIH. It's not my opinion. I have no opinion on this. Everything I talk about here is either people calling me, asking me for advice. I hear what they're doing, what works, what they don't work. I try to remember as much as I can. There's too many diseases. There is only one of me. And this is wrecking my career. So it's hard to find work when people find my videos on my books. Doing the best I can. I have about 4 nieces and nephews with autism, but the parents, unfortunately, don't want to try any of these modalities because it's very hard, especially for mothers, to see their kids suffer. There is little to no way to get out of this without some discomfort and suffering. And the key to minimize it is to go slow and steady. So if you're gonna start doing something, try to increase it slowly. So a lot of people call me back, especially for my protocols for Artemisia annua, and I tell them you gotta start very low dose for about a week. You might have to add a lot of probiotics so you don't react, it doesn't cause severe die-off. I don't know how Artemisia annua will work on children, but it works for so many things, just like the carnivore diet at so many levels, that I guess it's worth a try if you're out of options. It's not a recommendation. It's just, I don't know anybody that's tried it and it's worked for them yet. Nobody's got me feedback on that. But it seems like some people trying ivermectin have worked, so there is no reason why this should not help. But again, die-off is an issue. So I was saying beehives. So the reason why I mentioned the ocean is because fecal matter seems to have a certain proportions, a beneficial aspect. So a lot of people talk about the farmhouse effect for children. The Amish have 0 autism, not only because they don't vaccinate their children, but they also live in farms. And this is also why the Mongols can process a lot of dairy even if they're lactose intolerant. They don't use some of the genetic modified animals that we're using, like the A1 cow. They use traditional ancestral animals, like goats are a little more ancestral. They have milk proteins that are better, and they live involved in this microbiome. This is a farm, there is shit everywhere. It's microbiome everywhere. You're breeding it. You gotta keep it within reason. Can pile up poop until things go bad, because extremes are always bad in some cases, except for the carnivore diet, which so far don't know anybody. I mean, If you eat too much protein, that's one of the big mistakes that people make. They just go crazy with protein, and then they can't lose weight, and because your body's gonna start making sugar once it can't use any more of the protein. So it's a high fat diet. Most people make that mistake. Unfortunately, there is no way out of it without a good diet. And a good diet, I mean, you can do a lot of broth and a lot of modifications. Use the GAPS diet, but ultimately, even Natasha McBride on the latest interviews that I've seen of her, she's moving more to, at least for a lot of conditions, to a zero carb diet. Because I like conditions like mine, chronic bladder pain. So anyways, if you need any additional help, reach out. I do the best I can to follow up with everybody. My dogs are starting to bark to the neighbors' dogs. This is gonna get ugly in a few minutes, and I won't be able to hear me. And I gotta feed the animals that they kind of like their feed. So have a great day. Hope this helps. Hang in there. There are solutions to this, but they're not gonna be easy and they're not gonna be pain-free. The thing with drugs and magic pills and magic treatments is that they only block the effects. The root cause is what needs to be addressed. And when you damage the gut microbiome, you damage the gut. So you gotta fix the gut so you can put a new microbiome in it. And you have to be careful once you're adding this gut microbiome. You gotta go slow, increase very slow, start with like 0.5 gram of poop, increase to 1 gram, and then go back and forward, and don't be afraid if there is a reaction. If there is a reaction, you may want to modulate this reaction with Artemisia annua or possibly ivermectin, either if it's through the skin. Artemisia annua unfortunately has to be oral as far as I know, and that could prevent and reduce the load. Fasting, I'm going to repeat that again, a lot of fasting. This is hard to see your kid screaming for food. Kids go into ketosis a lot faster than adults, but it still sucks. So I fast. I mean, I lost a lot of weight right now because I do a lot of work, but I fast right now, 18, 16 hours a day most days. My wife the same. We have great health, can't complain. Haven't seen a doctor in a very long time. So best of luck, hang in there. You're gonna get it done, you're gonna fix this, and your kid is going to be amazing again. And you're not gonna be suffering and struggling, but it's gonna take a little over for a little bit of fear and struggle and hardship and pain. There ain't no getting out of jail free card on this one. Best of luck.